Okay, so Elizabeth, you've just been awarded a grant from the AHRC. Could you explain a little bit more?
Yes, the project is called Imprint, a historical and forensic investigation of fingerprints on medieval seals.
Okay, and why would you be looking at the imprints of medieval seals?
There are a number of questions, both historical and forensic. First of all, just to be clear what we're talking about here, these are the lumps of wax that you see attached to the bottom of medieval documents. And in the front of the lump of wax, you impress a seal matrix, and that's what most people look at. But anyone who handles these documents will probably have noticed at some point, if you turn the lump of wax over, it's got fingerprints. And actually we did a pilot a couple of years ago that shows their finger and palm prints, because the wax is soft when that impression from the matrix is made, and it's also then taking the impression from the hand of the person handling that.
So what might you learn by looking at these imprints?
From the history side, we're looking at a number of different questions. We're looking at, might sound a little bit dry to some people, but the development of bureaucracy, administration, legal practice. Perhaps what might attract more general interest is we're also looking at what might be called the performative act of sealing, the importance of validating this document in a formal public setting, and who is actually handling that matrix, because it's supposed to be partly about imprinting yourself. But our pilot showed that certainly in some cases, the person who's supposed to be doing the sealing is not necessarily the person who's actually handling the object. It's also about access to power and authority. Again, the pilot showed us a couple of instances where it was a woman who was supposed to be actually impressing the seal, but it was a man's print on the back of the wax.
And you can find out that it was a man's print?
I didn't realise this. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty accurate. It's to do with size and form. And these are questions that we want to explore in more detail. For example, are women officially involved in this process, but actually in practice the society at the time steps back a bit and that women are slightly excluded in the actual physical act? Do lords impress the seal for their tenants? This sort of thing. Do bishops take responsibility for lower clergy?
Or is there a bureaucracy developing around them that's doing it for them?
Or both. From the forensic side, it's never been proven that everyone has unique fingerprints. So what we're hoping to do, we're using some very cutting-edge technology to record the prints, and they can be run through databases. And if we have a population group who are all completely different from modern population group, because they've been dead a long time, then it adds to the idea that we do have unique prints. If we get near or identical matches, then it must mean that prints repeat. Is that genetic? Is that random? It's going to be asking some quite serious questions.
So you'll be searching against databases of
Yes, that's
fingerprints.
the plan.
So we might find somebody living in some place in Germany that has the same print as somebody...
Yes, or as a time traveller. The other thing that forensics scientists are interested in is the deterioration of prints over time. And lifting overlaid prints, because what we've got here most of the time is not deliberately sticking your fingers into the wax to make prints, but somebody handling a soft lump of wax, and so you get overlaying. And most criminals don't put a nice neat single print, they overlay, and that's quite challenging for the scientists to identify correctly, and there have been some misidentifications because of this. So it actually has the potential to influence training for forensic scientists.
What other kind of things do you perhaps hope to find out through the research?
Well, there's one very interesting case where we might be able to close a very, very cold case of forgery. Because one of the places we're going into, we're going to have two postdoctoral researchers, as well as myself and my colleague from the University of Lincoln, and forensic scientist. And we're going into Westminster Abbey, and there they have a series of charters which are supposed to be late Anglo-Saxon, but everyone's pretty sure they were actually forged in the 12th century. And what we hope to be able to do is identify the same person's prints on those forged charters as on a genuine late 12th century charter and possibly even narrow it down to a small group of individuals who might be the culprits. So case closed, hopefully.